Hello there, I'm Samuel O'Gorman, student number 246324.
And I'm Andrew, Masters 224037.
I'm Eleanor Garrett, 248275. I'm Fiona Gordon, 252691.
I'm Jess Horsey, and my student is 245092.
And we are all part of Fives Company Theatre Group. We are a group of 5 young, like-minded new theatre practitioners who wish to explore controversy with social and political topics. We aim to evoke opinions from within by combining naturalistic pieces with absurd theatre, and we wish to adopt and experiment with a range of mediums. We want to create diverse and challenging performances that question the society in which we live. Now, today we're going to talk to you about a massively important theatre practitioner, Auguste Boal. Now, when we were thinking about people to research and talk about for this lecture, we went through quite a few people who relate to us as a theatre company and what we want to achieve, but none of them really grasp our interest as much as Auguste Boal. Now, although not the most relatable practitioner to the work we produce, aspects of his work, such as his ethics portray and attempt to solve political issues in society, are. Now, this is going to give you a brief introduction to Boal, why his methods are celebrated, his creative intentions, the methods he used in rehearsal to achieve this end, and we then round it off with a workshop going into detail about a part of his practice and explain the use of the workshop in relation to his ideals. The lecture aims to introduce a man who we could spend hours going into more detail on, and help to understand how and why his work is so effective and revolutionary in the theatre world.
So, Auguste Boal was a director, writer and politician from Rio de Janeiro who lived from 1931 to 2009. He created Theatre for the Oppressed and wrote a book of the same name, and in 1981 this attracted military attention, leading to him being kidnapped, arrested and tortured before being exiled to Argentina. Boal was the first person that tried to actively include the audience into his pieces in order to encourage them to actively think about and express their political views. He also claimed that theatre is a form of knowledge. It should and can also be a means of transforming society. Theatre can help us build our future rather than just waiting for it.
Right. The Theatre of the Oppressed tree sums up the bare bones of Boal's technique. So the Theatre of the Oppressed tree shows how to reach the oppressed and help them. So you have two image theatres, which Boal claimed to have the advantage of allowing a person to come out of concrete. As for example, like with language, there are many ways that embrace could be visually shown, and newspaper theatre, which is a way of transforming any non-dramatic piece to a theatrical form, and Rainbow of Desire, which is the use of image and form technique to investigate the internalised oppression by using therapeutic techniques to explore how external oppression causes us to oppress ourselves, as well as explore ways of taking direct action against this. There's also free form theatres, which is designed to take the audience from spectator to spectator, and is designed so that the audience stop playing and take action. Visible theatre, which is where you take theatre and act it in a place that people don't normally expect to see theatre, such as a shopping centre or a cafe, for example. Legislative theatre, which is an extension of form theatre and is designed to be used as a theatrical technique to create specific socio-political impact and direct action. We also have 3 root images, which you can't see. So sound, word and image. These come from game playing, which is at the core of the Theatre of the Oppressed, and is supposed to allow participants to stretch their imagination, and is a great way to build a community and having fun. The main purpose is to deconstruct and analyse the social structure. Games allow participants to actually allow them to put themselves in scenarios they would not normally be able to think about. The idea is the tree summarises the many branches and substructures behind the Theatre of the Oppressed and how it's designed to create a cohesive framework to help the oppressed from within, rather than trying to speak at them, but with them. The idea is they should come to actually be able to force to think about their everyday and ways of actively changing it by using their critical rapport, so that they may find better ways of dealing with the problems of their lives. This is essentially Boal's basic framework for understanding the Theatre of the Oppressed and how he intends to reach them using these techniques as summed up here. Theatre of the Oppressed designs political theatre designed to be accessible to all, since Boal thought it was difficult for people such as himself, who was a relatively affluent man, to help the oppressed, since there was too much social and cultural differences between them. So the Theatre of the Oppressed which was designed in the 1970s, was a way of impetus for change coming from within and not an outside source. Theatre of the Oppressed is emphasised as not a spectacle, but rather as a language designed to 1. Analyse and discuss the problems of oppression and power, and 2. To explore good solutions to these problems. Language is designed to be accessible to all.
Auguste Boal was a very political man, and thus his work was very politically engaged and focused. Throughout his life, as mentioned, he has suffered many battles with political powers. He was exiled from Brazil when the Brazilian military party deemed his theatre and himself too politically challenging to their ideals. He was also part of the Rio de Janeiro Council. So as well as being politically charged theatre practitioner, he also used theatre actively within politics. Boal was very much influenced by the Brecht style of theatre and how he wanted his theatre to make the audience actively think about political issues around them. This inspired him to create theatre where the audience are not just spectators, but actively, as he quotes, spect actors. He wanted them to be active in the decisions and the progress of the play. At different points in his life, he was forced to think about how he could use theatre differently to get across his political view and opinions about the oppression of the working class and what they were experiencing. And the problem with the ideal of capitalism was also something that he was against. This view inspired by the great sociologist Karl Marx, as his philosophy was built around this idea. Brecht was also a strong Marxist, so as Boal was inspired by Brecht, this could have been a factor into his political ideals and how he went with his beliefs of theatre. When he was exiled from Argentina, he created a technique called invisible theatre, which we will talk about in more detail later in the presentation. This was a way of creating politically engaging theatre and getting people involved by not performing in a traditional sense, but using the street as the theatre. It allowed them to politically engage with theatre, but without the use of the theatre, and was a very effective technique which grabbed the attention of the public and urged them to get involved, always keeping his main idea of audience participation and turning them into spectators. His major political work was foreign theatre, where an issue is shown on the scene and then worked upon to come up with a solution to the problem. This is a very basic and rushed explanation of what it is, because Jess will expand on foreign theatre. An expansion of this foreign theatre is legislative theatre, where his aims as a member of the council in Rio de Janeiro was to actively change and have an effect on politics using theatre. The premise was very similar to the foreign theatre, the only difference being that a discussion was opened between the citizens and the institutions. The idea was that the spectators could take the stage and show their opinions on certain political issues in order to come up with solutions to problems within society. Around 12 laws were issued under this technique, and it proved that theatre and politics can work side by side, and that theatre doesn't have to be contrasted with politics and cause controversy, but it showed theatre can actually make a difference within politics. He was more influential in Portuguese, Spanish and French, rather than English, but his ideals have still been transferred to all languages, and his techniques are still used all over the world, in all different cultures. Overall, Auguste Boal was a very political man whose creative process was always politically driven, and he wanted to ultimately make the world a better place using theatre as his basis for this.
I'm going to be speaking about foreign theatre. Foreign theatre is basically where a play or scene, usually indicating some kind of oppression, is shown twice, but in different ways. During the replay, any member of the audience can intervene in the performance and shout stop. Once they've stopped the action on the stage, they are then allowed to take the place of one of the oppressed characters, showing how they would change the situation. This enables a different outcome. While this takes place, the other actors on stage remain characters and improvise their new responses, because they don't know how the audience are going to react as the new characters. Allowing the audience to do this is called turning the spectators into spectators, as Sam touched on earlier. After the oppression has been overthrown by the spectators, the production changes again, and the spectators now have the opportunity to replace the oppressors and find new ways of challenging the oppressed characters. This whole process is designed to allow the audience to come to a conclusion through the rather than demonstrate a one-sided argument that gets pushed to the audience by the actors with no chance of reply or counter-argument. Here is a clip of an example of foreign theatre performance in New York done by the Theatre of Press, NYC. I'm going to show you the start bit and then stop it and interrupt. As you can see here, another aspect that is really important for this type of theatre to work is that there should always be a facilitator present, allowing communication between the actor and audience to run smoothly. And as you can see, she immediately makes the audience feel at ease. As the plays are performed impromptu, the actors require profound acting skills and patience. The whole strategy behind this is to break down the barrier between performance and the audience and unite them as one. It also enables the participants to react in the ways that they might feel is applicable to their everyday lives. I'm going to try and show you a further bit. At the moment, they're showing the original scene done by the actors. I'll just see it to you. This woman is part of the audience, so she's just, now I've skipped a bit, but she's now part of the action. And then they have the feedback session. We also have the feedback session at the end, which I'll try and show you now. Yes.
So there's many more ideas that we could come up with in this room for all of those different moments. And none of them are the solution. But they might look better or worse in one situation or another. It might work for me and not for you. But now we can brainstorm a whole bunch of possibilities.
In August 2010, there were nearly 37,000 homes.
You kind of get the idea. Boal attempted to undo the traditional conventions of theatre. It is important to note that originally Boal created this technique as a political tool for change and as part of the theatre of the oppressed. It is only recently that it has been adapted and developed for educational uses. Foreign theatre has also been modified in the way that certain portions of plays use this technique are pre-written and purposely stopped at controversial points. So rather than the audience stopping the action, many of the foreign theatre today purposely stops the action because they've already got a topic that they want to discuss with the audience. This demonstrates that foreign theatre can be widely used and can vary. Now over to Emma for invisible theatre.
Boal believed that every person is an actor and came up with invisible theatre whilst living in exile. The idea is that a piece of theatre will take place in a public environment, but no one in the public will realise that it's actually theatre. People who experience invisible theatre should think it was real at the time and continue to do so for the rest of their lives. An example of this is a show used today called What Would You Do?, where invisible theatre takes form in a setting such as a restaurant, where an actor playing a waiter will be racist towards a table of actors playing customers, and the reactions of the real customers are then filmed. The style requires heavy amounts of rehearsing to be prepared for a variety of responses encourage as many members of the public to join in to making it as realistic as possible. Boal would use this to create debates about the government in the street without the performances being traced back to him, as it was too dangerous for him at this point.
I'm going to talk to you about image theatre. Image theatre is a technique which uses images to explore abstract concepts. These concepts can vary from relationships, everyday issues, and use real emotions. This type of theatre is a flexible tool that is used for exploring, in some cases, controversial issues, attitudes, and emotions. It allows different types of groups to explore the same topics, from groups that are confident with drama and those with little to no experience. Imaging is a brilliant technique which allows the participants to explore their own feelings and experiences in a less forbidding way. Words can often confuse or detract from the message of the piece. So Boal tried not to rely fully on the script to get the meaning of his pieces across to the spec actors. So he got his actors to use movements and the true feeling on stage, as a picture paints 1,000 words. Seeing several physical acts of oppression helped provide spec actors with an insight to how they were being oppressed in their lives. By showing them these images, the spec actors begin to question, break down, and attempt to solve the problems. After seeing that there were ways to solve the problems they were shown, Boal hoped that they would take what they had learned on in reality, showing that the people were stronger than they believed. The situations that were shown were designed to be personal to everyone, so that they could relate to it, and therefore they would be more inclined to think of the ways to solve the problems. The added benefit to this technique is that there is no requirement for experience in verbal acting, as it all relies on the body. Using body movement to communicate is a general method, as it is highly accessible and there is no need for script learning, as it is all based on how the actor feels. As it is an interpretive form of acting, there are very few restrictions, and the actors choose moves which represent their impression, making the piece more realistic, as it is all real emotions. There are no barriers of movement, no language restrictions, so the spec actors are more likely to understand what is being portrayed. Overall, I believe this method is very useful, as actors are able to show true emotions instead of being told how to feel, which can come across as fake to an audience. Bringing reality to a piece is more hard-hitting and enables the audience to truly understand what the actors are going through.
Okay, so we're now going to do a workshop on image theatre, so if everyone wants to get up and get into a circle.
Do you want to film? And start with the workshop.
The idea is, I say a word and you create a physical response to it, like an image with your body. You've got to do the first thing that comes to your head. Yeah? Yeah. Okay, so bullying. Freeze. Okay? Childhood.
Tiger.
Childhood. Okay. And poverty. Fab. Okay, so now choose one of your three images, and if everyone comes into the circle one by one, like into the centre, you're going to create a tableau of your images. Okay, fab. So that was a new case tableau that Boal was used as an example in rehearsals. And well done.
Yeah, Boal would. We're going to do a bit more of a game now, because. But if everyone would like to sit down for a moment, and then I'll explain the whole thing, and then we can. That one's a bit more of a context exercise. But Boal very much believed in using games as a way of exploring theatre and politics, because it's relatable to everyone, because everyone loves a good game. This game is called Complete the Image. And the idea is, at two people, so I'm going to use Jess and Fee to explain it. We'll start off in a freeze frame of a handshake. Now, the idea is that you're supposed to look at the handshake, and what meanings do you see from this? Is it a friendly encounter? Is it a business meeting? Anyone ideas of what this looks like?
Very formal.
Formal business. Do they like each other?
I think they don't mind each other, but they're not friends.
So it's all withheld.
Yeah.
See, this is the idea that you wanted to do, is that you look at it and you engage with the meanings of the piece, the freeze frame. But then he liked to, so if I retract Fee from the piece and Jess stays there, Fee's out of the way. Now what is the meaning of the piece changes completely, because Jess is left all alone on her own, and the idea of the situation changes. Now what I wanted to do, and what I'm going to get used to doing pairs in a minute, is Fee would think of an idea, and you think of it quickly. He doesn't want time for you to analyse and try and come up with an idea for the piece. You just go back in, and she has to go into a different situation, interact with the outstretched arm of Jess. So if you'd like to interact with it, just straight in, whatever comes to your hand. Now, the idea of the piece has changed, and the meaning of the piece has changed. Now what Boel would do is he would retract Jess from the piece, and again, the meaning has changed. Jess would then think of an idea and go back into the image to create a different meaning for the image. Now, we'd like to get you, if everyone would like to get into pairs, or I think there's going to, I don't know, pairs, and everyone just come up.
Come on, dance.
Now, if everyone, in a moment, will start with the handshake, just any sort of handshake, and when I shout change, I want one of you to come out of the image and then go straight back into it in a different thing. Now, but what I was thinking of it was, it doesn't have to make sense, so you don't have to try and make sense of the situation, because any sort of picture changes the meaning, and there's a meaning, you can withdraw meaning from anything. So, if you'd like to start the handshake. Change.
Do you both have change?
No, only one of you
One
change.
person, I'll say, I should explain this better. Number yourselves 1 and 2. So number yourselves 1, 2, 3.
There's a tree.
There's 3, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, and then I'll shout 1 it changes out, and then I'll shout 2, and 2 it changes out. So start the handshake again. I do apologise, should have explained it better.
Yeah, you can do.
Just why don't you?
And then when I shout 3,
One now, sorry.
okay, there you go. Okay. 1. Go out of the image, go straight back in to change the image. 2. 1. 2. Now we've got a couple of volunteers that would like to just show us back the idea of it, if no one does that. Yeah, so anyone else would like to show theirs? No. Okay. So if we if we all make a circle and alright, so I'll do the same thing. Pardon? Yeah, you can start. You can start on handshake. Now, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to pick on you, I do apologise, but what I would do to change this situation is he possibly throw a chair into the situation and mix up. So now what will change? You don't have to interact with the piece if you don't want to, but you can do.
Do it straight away.
Pardon?
Use it straight away.
You can if you want to, but it starts off with a handshake, so the idea is that you can be, if you want to, you can be like this. Have you done yourself 1 and 2? Yeah. Okay. 1. 2. Now, can we all see how meanings of a situation. A simple handshake starts off and how it changes.
Racist, that
That is how Bilal's game would work, and he has many. You can start now. Does anyone else want to show a piece at all?
I think you do.
No.
Amy.
No. Okay. Well, fair enough.